Welcome all to this video lecture. I am Dr. John Milton, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Microbiology. In this video lecture, we will discuss about biofilm. What is biofilm? How they are formed? What are the factors which affect the biofilm? So all these details we are going to discuss in this video lecture. Biofilms are communities of microorganisms in a matrix that join them together into living on inert substance. Biofilm may form on solid substratum in contact with the mixture or maybe on soft tissue surfaces in living organisms like aquatic animals and other kind of organisms which are growing in the wetted conditions. Biofilm offer their members several benefits. Each kind of organisms getting some benefits from the other members of the biofilm. Biofilm are diverse from their formation on teeth, as plaques, as well as in submerged rocks in the streams. In so many places you can see the biofilm. They are attached with biotic or abiotic surfaces integrated into the matrix that they have produced. What are the steps in the biofilm formation? We will see. So biofilms are the aggregation of the microbial cells which are associated with the surface in almost an irreversible manner. A biofilm may be composed of one microbial species or many microbial species found on variety of living organisms or non-living surfaces. The organisms may be, some may be bacteria or some may be algae. You can see many kind of organisms in the biofilm, not alone prokaryotic organisms, not alone eukaryotic organisms. Variety of species can be seen. Usually the mixed species biofilm form the majority in most of the environments, in which we can see many kind of organisms, many kind of species found on the surface of medical implants results in the infections. Sometimes the biofilm may be found on the medical implants and results in the infection to the person who are using the medical implants. The biofilm formation steps are as follows. The first step is attachment. At the first, the condition layer is formed. The condition layer is nothing but it is a thin film of a coating over the surface of the substratum by the activities of a matrix producing organism, that is a polysaccharide producing organisms. The condition layer have a loose collection of carbohydrates and protein which gets united with minerals in hot water. It attracts the microbial cells to get attached with the surfaces. Once the condition layer is formed, the condition layer which will attract all other kind of organisms towards where the condition layer is formed. So the first step that is attachment. The second step is irreversible attachment. So as soon as condition layer formed, electrical charges accumulated on the surfaces which attract the bacteria having opposite charge, that results in the irreversible attachment of the microbial cells. So here after condition layer is formed, most of the time the condition layer will be negative charged one. So this negative charged condition layer will attract the positive charged organisms towards there, and the attachment is in the irreversible manner. That means that they cannot detached from that surfaces, but it can be detached due to some mild forces, but that is attached in the irreversible manner. One group of organisms attached on the surface of other kind of organisms. The third group of organisms will be attached on the second group of organisms. So in these cases, the second group of organisms cannot easily liberated from that places. So that is the irreversible attachment. The charges are sufficient weak that microorganisms could be easily removed by the mild cleanser and sanitizer. So these kind of cleaning agents can easily detach these kind of biofilm from the area where they are attached. The third one is proliferation. In this phase, the bacteria get attached to the surface as well as with each other by secreting exopolysaccharide, as well as the organisms start to multiply, proliferate. The fourth one stage is maturation. The biofilm environment consists of nutrient-rich layer which support the rapid growth of microbes. The complex diffusion channels are present in matured biofilm to transport the nutrients, oxygen and waste components. So you can see the channels here in the matured biofilm for the transportation of the wastes, for the transportation of the nutrients across the various kind of organisms in the biofilm. The last step in the biofilm formation is the dispersion. So it is a process of dispersal of biofilm in which actively growing cells gradually shed daughter cells. So here the mother cells, that is the actively growing cells, vegetative cells will start to produce the daughter cells. So that daughter cells will shed down from that actively growing vegetative cells. So this is the dispersion. So because as long as fresh nutrients are kept, providing biofilm continues to grow, and when they kept nutrient deprived, they return to their planktonic mode by detaching themselves from the surface. That means that if the nutrients are enough in that area, the biofilm will continue. If the nutrients are scarce, that means if all the nutrients are depleted from that regions, the biofilm organisms, that organism which are the member of biofilm will get detached from that places, and they will be planktonic in nature. They will be floating on the surfaces, or they will be uh, found in the aquatic habitats at any depth, any niches. So next we will discuss about what are the composition of the biofilm. Biofilm is primarily composed of bacterial microcolonies and matrix or glycocalyx. The composition of microcolonies contains 10 to 25% of microbial cells and 75 to 90% of the matrix. So at bottom of most of the biofilm, a dense layer of microorganism is bound together in polysaccharide matrix with other organic and inorganic compounds. So the successive layer is highly irregular and loose and may extend surrounding medium. The component of the biofilm are as follows. The first one is water channel, that is very important. So this water channel is found between the microcolonies which act as the simple circulating system for the distribution of nutrients and receiving of harmful metabolites waste product. So all these compounds can enter various parts of the biofilm through this water channel. So it has a very important for the survival of the organism which are found with the biofilm. The next one is exopolysaccharide. So exopolysaccharide are the major component of the biofilm and is produced by the bacteria. So most of the exopolysaccharide producing bacteria in the biofilm are belong to bacteria. The exopolysaccharide constitute of about 50 to 60% of the total organic matter in the biofilm. The exopolysaccharide is mainly composed of polysaccharides, some of which may be neutral or some may be polyanionic in nature, especially in the case of the gram-negative bacteria, or cationic in nature in the case of the gram-positive bacteria. So the charges may be differences due to the kind of organisms. The next component of the biofilm is extracellular DNA, that is eDNA. The microbial genetics and the environment in which bacteria grows are the determining factor for the composition of the biofilm. So at what conditions biofilm is formed, that is one of the greatest factor that determine the kind and the composition of the biofilm. In many bacterial species, extracellular DNA was initially observed. Extracellular DNA is released by autolysis. Autolysis means the lysis of the cells themselves. So after maturing, after the aging, so the cells will be broken down from that, the DNA will be released. That is called as extracellular DNA. So the extracellular DNA plays an important role in the development of the biofilm. Biofilm structure stabilization as well as in the gene transfer mechanism. So the gene which is present on the extracellular DNA can go to other kind of organisms and give some kind of property to the receiving organisms. The genetic transfer is responsible for the spreading of virulence among the organisms in the biofilm member as well as the antibiotic resistant gene among them. So sometimes some of the sensitive antibiotic sensitive organisms which are found on the biofilm may get resistant power after receiving the antibiotic resistant gene from other members of the biofilm. This may happen. So what are the factors affecting biofilm formation? Substratum effects. So as the surface roughness increases, the microbial colonization increases. So if the surface of the area where the biofilm is formed, that is very, very important. Then microorganisms get attached to more rapidly to hydrophobic and non-polar surfaces when compared with the hydrophilic surfaces. The next factor is conditioning film forming on the substratum. When a material surface gets exposed to any aqueous medium, it gets immediately coated with polymers from the surface or become conditioned. The coating is formed within minutes of exposure. The next one is hydrodynamics. So the hydrodynamic is nothing but it is the velocity of the water, the movement of water. So the gentle movement of water will create the linear biofilm in the aquatic habitats. If the hydrodynamics, the velocity of the water is more, that is the force of water is the force of movement of water is more, it may result in the detachment of the biofilm from that area. The next characteristics of the aqueous medium. So this includes the temperature, the pH, the nutrient level as well as ionic strength. So these are the important role in the formation of the biofilm, of course. For example, the attachment of Pseudomonas fluorescens to glass surface is affected by an increase in the concentration of the several cation, sodium, calcium, ferric, due to reducing the repulsive forces between the negatively charged bacterial cells and the glass surfaces. That means that if sodium, calcium, ferric ions are present in enormous quantity in the water, that increase the attachment of the Pseudomonas fluorescens with the glass surfaces very easily because of the forces and charges. The next factor is properties of the cells. The rate and the extent of adherence of microbial cells depends on the properties of the cells like cell surface, hydrophobicity, presence of embryo, flagella, exopolysaccharide. Sometimes they are having the flagella of embryo. This may help for the attachment of the cells on the surfaces when compared with the cells which are not having flagella or any other extended appendages. Then availability of the certain nutrients. So the formation of biofilm depends upon certain nutrients. For example, Listeria monocytogenes optimum level of phosphatic presence of carbohydrates, mannose, tragales favor the biofilm formation in the case of the Listeria monocytogenes. The next factor is presence of oxygen. So in the absence of sufficient oxygen supply, biofilm does not occur as because the bacteria could not adhere to the substrate surfaces. So most of the organisms which are attached on the biofilm or maybe aerobic or facultative aerobic nature, so they need oxygen for its proliferation, for its survival. The next factor is temperature. The high temperature results in fail to form biofilm for most of the microorganisms. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of the biofilm? Advantages of the biofilms are the biofilm in our intestinal tract protect it from pathogenic organisms, especially the biofilm which are formed by the probiotics. Promote the remediation of the contaminated water and soil. If the biofilms are formed in the water, those organisms which are attached with the biofilm can involve in the remediation, that is removal of the toxic compounds from the water and the soil. So it can be assist in the metal mining, biomining process. So it can also helpful for the recycling of organic matter on the earth. So it also having some disadvantages. When the biofilms are formed in the medical implants, it create the chances for infections, some kind of infections to the persons who are using the implants. Biofilm on food contact surfaces of foodborne pathogenic organisms. So foodborne pathogenic organisms may attach on the surfaces where we are handling the food and may enter the food items and may cause some kind of foodborne infections to the consumers. Biofilm develop on the interior of most water distribution system known as biofouling. So it results in the damaging of the pipeline as well as waterborne illness to the consumers. Also, it damages the pipelines, like corroding the pipelines. The dental plaques in biofilm is a biofilm that form on tooth surfaces, results in tooth caries. So these are some of the disadvantages of the biofilm. So this is regarding the biofilm. This is the biofilm formed on the teeth. So this is regarding the biofilm and its properties and its advantages and disadvantages. Thank you for watching this video lecture.